What's up guys, DoubleDragon here with more PTR footage, in this case a boss guide, the 8th boss in Throne of Thunder, or the 2nd boss in the 3rd tier of LFRs for tier 15. So Primordius is a mutant that you have to kill because he's evil, that's the law, that's what you have to know. So first of all you got a tank ability, and it's going to hit you in a 600,000 damage in a 7-yard cone. So unless you have like 800,000 health, which just isn't feasible, then you got to move from it. It doesn't say you have to move, but I assume that's how it's going to be. So another tank ability, Malformed Blood. The boss will put a debuff on you that does damage per 3 seconds and makes it so that you do more damage to living fluids and viscous horrors. Now it lasts 1 minute and it stacks up. So you got a tank swap at a certain amount of stacks. Just imagine like 5 or 10 or something like that. You know, something that you can actually take. But you want as many as possible because you want to be doing more damage to the living fluids. Now the viscous horrors are not referenced again in this dungeon journal guide. Don't ask me why. It's probably just something they just left out. Anyway, the first mechanic you got to be contending with, and pretty much the only mechanic, let's be honest, is evolution. Now, whenever a living fluid gets near him, I will show you what living fluid looks like right now. It's this red goopy thing. Whenever this thing gets near the boss, it will give him a buff, and it's called evolution. It gives him more damage, and it gives him a mutation. Now, there are 6 mutations here, and he can only have 3 at a time. So, first of all, you got eventual stacks. Now, all of these abilities, you gotta understand. You're not going to be contending with all of them at the same time, but you have to realize what they all do so that you can react, right? So if 3's happening at the same time, you've got to have like an intricate knowledge of what they all do so that you can react, right? Anyway, let's move on. Eventual Sacks. It inflicts 15,000 nature damage to all players every 1 second, so you just got to heal through it, alright? That's all there is to it. Gas Bladder. Now, it's going to do a cone attack that you have to stand in front of. Exactly the same as the Whirlwind boss in Heart of Fear. I forget his name, but you got to stack for him in front of him. Alright, 18-yard cone, that's pretty big. Alright, so you can't miss it. Acidic Spines. So he fires some spines every 5 seconds, inflicts a lot of damage to all players within 5 yards of the target. That, I imagine, is just a Shadow Crash, right? A purple thing will fall down and hit you, but in this case it'll be green. Pathogen Glands. So he sprays a volatile pathogen at a player, inflicting 100,000 nature damage to enemy players every 1 second, and summons a living fluid. Now this is the most important one because it does summon the living fluids. Whether or not the living fluids just spawn on their own as well, and this is just an additional spawn, can't tell you. But if this is the only one, then you have to know when Pathogen Glands is up. So Metabolic Boost. Hyperactive it just increases his damage, right? And his attack speed. So he'll be doing more mutations. He'll be doing stuff faster, right? Erupting Pustules. They erupt every 5 seconds, showering the area with corrosive blood that inflicts 150,000 nature damage within 2 yards of the impact. So, is that another Shadow Crash? I can't tell you, but I just imagine it's something you got to avoid. All right, you'll understand it closer to the intent. So the living fluids, they will slowly make their way from outside the edge of the Primordius's lair and run at him, and you've got to stop them from getting to him. Every time they reach the boss, they will increase his mutation level. Whether that increases his maximum mutation level or just bumps it up from like 2 to 3 and then caps out at 3, can't tell you. So when a living fluid dies, when you kill it, because these will be the priority targets, they'll leave behind a pool. Now, either the pool they leave behind will help you or hinder you. It depends. If the boss touches a pool, it'll increase his mutation level just as if he touched the fluid when it was still alive. Does he run at a pool when it's actually there? Like, does he automatically run to it? Because if he doesn't, then I don't really see why he would be touching a pool. Right? It's a tank's job to not tank him near a pool. So, yeah. Whenever a pool comes down, you can, as a player, step onto a pool. It'll inflict some damage on you, alright? So you gotta bear that in mind. Every time you get a pool, you have to warn the healers. But it will give you a helpful mutation. And these helpful mutations are, alright, just real quick, all stats by 10%, mastery by 10%, haste by 10%, crit by 10%. Alright, you got a random chance of getting some kind of buff. Alright, but you have a 10% based on how many stacks of the buff that the next pool you step into will harm you. It'll give you a minus stats, minus crit, minus mastery, all that. So you have to decide as a group who's going to get into the next pool. So if someone's already got, say, 2 stacks and Joe over here has like no stacks, Joe's going to get into the pool and you're going to just leave it. But if everyone else in the group has 2 stacks and you have 2 stacks, I think you can safely just step into the pool. Alright, these helpful buffs, they don't seem to drop off, at least not from what I can tell. They stack up to 10 times and they can be dispelled, alright? So whenever you're dispelled, mutations are removed, but they don't have a time that they just wear off. You'll just retain them. So I imagine you'll only get dispelled if your entire group is like has like 3 stacks of this shit and everyone's taking 100,000 damage all the time. Healers can't keep up, right? So that's pretty much it for the fight. Let's do a recap. Tanks have to move from a Primordius strike, so a current attack. They are going to get a debuff, a tank swap at like 5-10 stacks, I'm not sure. And when they get enough stacks, they can attack living fluids and do a lot of damage. In evolution, 3 random mutations that you have to understand and react to. So eventual sacks, heal through it. Gas bladder, everyone stack. Acidic spines, get away from the shadow crashy effect. Pathogen glands, kill the fluids. Metabolic boost, he's going to do more damage, so just don't even worry about it. And erupting pustules, 150,000 every 2 yards of the impact. So I don't know, another shadow crash, I'm not sure. Living fluids, you got to take them down as fast as humanly possible. And don't let them reach the boss. Don't tank the boss near the pools that they leave behind. If you don't have any stacks of the buff, then step into a pool and get one. And whether or not you have to dispel, get into a pool, or just keep stacking up, that's up for debate, alright? That's going to require you to react, for your group to react, reaction times. Apart from that, nothing else to it. That's the whole fight. So anyway guys, stick around for more PTR footage, subscribe if you want to. I'll be doing more coverage, boss fights, etc. Have a good one.